Hey guys, I'm putting this recording together to be able to just kind of share an overview of the platform, some of the areas and how we technically build things out as far as the knowledge base and the agent teams. And then we'll kind of dive into a few different dashboards. One of them is going to be for a company that I'm driving right now. I thought we'd do one of the rally companies that just kind of went through this week. And then we can also look at my company, which is a direct-to-consumer business in the sports and recovery. So I thought that'd be a little bit more relatable, depending. So one's B2B, one's B2C. All right, so we'll go through all that. The important thing to get started here is what we're trying to do is we're building a really, really robust knowledge base for a business, whether it exists or is about to exist. So we've been able to do this for enterprise companies or early stage or even pre-venture concepts. The goal is to always pressure test something on paper before we build it, ultimately to have a data-driven, like a reality check on if we have the right things in the organization to be able to shift the market and grab some influence. So this is an evolution of a process that I've been running for probably close to 20 years now, and it's gone through several evolutions. There's been a lot of technologies injected into this over time. The newest version of this is getting really exciting because of how much the pre-trained agentic workflow can do to set a business up. But the goal is to actually get a strong enough knowledge base around a business so that if you activate automation in an organization, it has pretty critical guardrails on how to execute, how to engage with customer. Ultimately, like one of the KPIs that Chase and I have is we want to make it say no. So to really kind of push through this transition to not just do everything that everybody wants when they're utilizing any agentic automation, but to have it have really strong guardrails about the future of the business. So I'm just going to overview real quick some of the three major steps, and then we'll dive into the technology here. So what we do in a facilitated workshop, I basically do this in about a half a day, is we facilitate a conversation. So people in the room, typically I like to have everybody in the room. This can be anybody from founding team to founders, investors, to enterprise board members. But step one is to get all of the nuanced information about where they want the company to go out of everybody's head. Identify any misalignments, talk through that, and we record everything. So there's no lost context. Everything's recorded. We typically record on multiple devices. But the first thing I'm going to show is this piece over on the left where I need to test every feature mentioned in maybe that 2 or 3 hour conversation against 100 businesses that are competing for the same customer. So literally every feature. And I'll show you how we do this. But eventually we'll get into like the customer's irrational decision making and the tension. Tension becomes a major deliverable to where we have a data-driven tension in the market that we can align with. So as we jump out and kind of look into some of the dashboards here, this is what the facilitated dashboard looks like. So this is something that the whole team gets throughout the engagement. After the first conversation, it's going to go, the agentic team is going to take that data and it's going to do a lot with it. So I think the full 3 hour conversation is fully transcribed. And that becomes data, along with anything the company shares. Existing websites, presentation decks, sales materials. We can take as much data as they want to give us. But what I'm trying to do is identify a bunch of features and figure out where it sits in a product market fit pyramid. Like what features are at the bottom of the pyramid that everybody else has? What features are going to be innovative that would sit here in the middle? And what features are going to exist that are absolutely unique, meaning we can't find that feature in any like business in the space. And that's why we kind of go after 100 companies at the beginning. So everything starts with a story. Brand is very connected to this. So while we do a lot of rational data testing against product and product market fit, brand is critical. And I'll be happy to share this with the team after our conversation too, if you want to see a link, but this is for my business. So this is a recovery company. So the goal is to actually start with a narrative, no pictures. So this is extracted from the conversations. It has a full narrative, something that you can put on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And if you guys are in this, whenever you see these buttons, like a listen or a watch, that means that watch will mean there's an overview, like a video of me talking. I can play this really quick and hopefully not mess up my audio here.
The reason we know about great companies is...
All right, I messed up the audio. So I'm not going to hit that again. So there's that, I think it's just because I'm recording my screen here. So you can watch me talk about it, or you can listen to it, and there'll be an executive overview of what happened.
The company that decided recovery should feel like healing, not like punishment.
So that's what those buttons do in the top right. So think that 3-hour conversation distilled down to a really emotional narrative, and this is what I would always test with a business before we build anything. Additionally, when it gets into chapter 2 here, you're going to see 78 features that were pulled out. So 78, I'll zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. It's on an eye chart. But 78 features that were extracted from the business, and based on the tone of how we talked about them, 25 of them were pushed into the unique category, 36 were assumed in market need, and 15 in expectation. Okay? So it'll give each feature a title, definition. You'll be able to look at all of them. So you can hit them in like this button here. Otherwise, throughout the whole experience, because we share this, there's a facilitator mode. So when the facilitator is running this, they're presenting this data to the team because it becomes a lot to consume. And then there's an explore mode. So that'll be here, where you can expand each feature to see what it says. You can filter them if you want. We put a lot of definition around what kind of feature this is. Like a brand expression to me is still a feature because it demands energy. And a lot of time it demands cost for a business. So anything that takes time and attention from the team is placed in here and designed to test. And I'll show you how we test this. First test is going to be against the market reality. So we'll get into here. It's in facilitator mode, so that's why those videos are showing up. So what happens is in the background from that conversation, it identifies what market we're in and what halo markets we're participating with. Who's also going after our customer. So it's going to find 104 competitors, and then it's going to break down like 6 trends that fit in the bottom of the pyramid here, meaning like things that everybody does, 5 trends that fit in this innovative category here, and then it'll identify 7 claims that are within our feature set that could possibly be unique to the market and make a difference. And again, you'll see there's a executive summary here. Those are always fun to listen to because once you get into this, the data is quite big. All these buttons, it'll kind of show you the full competitive landscape. You'll be able to see all the competition against my business. So before I show you this, let me open up a tab here. This is the company I'm talking about. So this is a full body therapy suit. So there's a full body experience. There's also this paste product that we put on people. So it's a great product, but it's able to kind of study the website as context as well. So it'll pull features out that we talk about in the business, about the product. So let's jump back over here. So it'll find direct competitors, and we typically call these ring 1. And then it'll find ring 2 competitors, like Game Ready, Therabody. Those are more market incumbents that'll likely show up. And it'll study all of these companies, their social channels, their existing properties, like whatever they have that the agents can find. We run deep research against every single one because you want full context on this stuff. So you can click on all these. You can show like the different categories as far as core competitors, how we break this stuff down. There's a lot of intelligence. It'll even kind of identify the major claims that I was talking about as far as like the universal claims, like what the saturation level is against competition, if they also have that value prop within their language. So this is like it at a glance. And then we will literally go in and show every competitor and how they behave. So what are the trends literally in this space? So this Revolution Manifesto. I'll identify the creative behaviors. We'll break down like what's happening. I typically write jokes for these as well so people remember them. We'll grab all of the actual like executions, like what are they doing, how are they doing it. We'll break down the messaging examples for every single trend, like what's being said and who says it. And this is really important because when the team sees this in context, creative context is so much better than data. It's very emotional when you see how these companies operate, like the recovery trifecta. What are the visuals that they're using? What are the claims that they're using? What is the visual breakdown and how they do it? Who's doing it? What they're saying? When a team sees this in a response that like shows up right after we have a large conversation about it, where there's a lot of commitment and passion, it helps create resilience in the team. The team gets a little bit more ready for innovation and starts prepping this like auto reordering of the features. So you're able to see all these, and this is a lot of data. These would be the innovative trends, like the multimodality ecosystem, multi-product brand consistency, product ecosystem. Just like I said, this company, there's like a full suit, but I also have this paste. So that would be a product ecosystem. All right, so that's no longer a feature that I would say is unique, and I don't want to put a lot of energy towards that feature because it's already commoditizing in the market. If that makes sense. So this is within the market reality. We break all those down, and then the destabilization is essentially like what changed in our product market fit pyramid. Of the 78 features, which ones had to shift? And it's a data-driven shift. It's no longer an emotional argument or a passion-driven argument. So there's always this executive summary that comes with it, but then you understand the why behind this. And if you look at explore mode, it'll bring full context into this as far as why different features are moving to the bottom of the pyramid that might have been thought as unique. So that's here. In the reckoning, this will create like even more full context. We'll dive into the reckoning here. And I'm in explore mode. So if, I can just refresh this and kind of show you what explore mode looks like. There's going to be context as far as what we're looking at in the top, because I do let people look at this asynchronously. So it doesn't have to be fully presented. That's the reason for the videos and the executive summaries. It's all really custom, but you can see like why cross-modality changed. You can see what went down as far as us being able to do cellular oxygenation. We thought that was our most unique thing. Actually, that went down 2 levels. That's now table stakes for the market. So we can't like endorse that as heavily or put that much attention because we become part of the noise. You don't want to be part of the noise. That's the reason I try to classify what the noise actually is. So this is important information for the whole team to be able to see, and it's got the rationale against it. So all of this context is actually even more robust. This is about as much as we wanted to put in a dashboard. But like when you want to chat or talk to this intelligence, it can respond with pretty low latency with full context. So you can actually have a strong conversation as to why, if you weren't part of that original participation. So we're kind of almost through us versus the competition, meaning other companies. We're not into the customer yet, but if this is us versus 100 companies, then next thing we look at is us versus our top 20 competitors. Like what's happening? Where's the white space? Let's take our unique features and test them against every company, feature for feature. Okay, so you'll always see, these are still here if you want to click on those to understand what's happening. But I typically do radar charts for this. I have for years and years. It's really effective to be able to see like what we're doing versus the customer. You can navigate this. Like if I turn off our layer here, you can start to see where the open space is, okay? As far as our CO2 tank infrastructure, this visual spectacle that we have when somebody's in the suits, the communal sessions, and the session credits, where we rent our suits. This is really tangible to us because we have these features, we've proven them, we make money on these features, but now we're getting a data-driven response to say our competition doesn't have these features. And that's important. That allows us to not go into a really saturated space as far as like our research library. We talk about the science all the time, and let's say if that is 60% of our brand conversations, it just makes us part of the noise. So we have to figure out how to simplify and commoditize that part of our business and ramp up the part of the business that is the white space, right? So anything saturated is red tape. Rationale is all the way through here. And then you'll get a breakdown. And this is all knowledge base. This is all judgment for the brand. This is all guardrails. If you look, you can also see like the different competitors. If I want to look at us specifically against the Therabody brand, I can click in, I can look at how every single feature rated and why. So the rationale is absolutely critical. Can't be abstract. You need that rationale because this knowledge compounds itself over time. So that's what us versus the competition looks like. Now that we have that, now that we have this visualization and understanding what our product market fit pyramid looks like. So these open spaces equal the top of the pyramid. That's the takeaway. Now we're going to focus on how to create an irrational decision, and we use an augmented version of the jobs to be done exercise. So a lot of these exercises I didn't necessarily invent. It's really the combination and overlapping of the data that generates the insights. So I do think that we want to test this. So I'm going to take every feature that we just identified and mapped that is at the top of the pyramid, whether it's like unique or innovative, and test that against, well, how important is that to our customer on a daily basis? And then also, how unhappy are they with their the current offerings of the market. Like, it might be really important, but there might not be a lot of conversation on people being unhappy with the options, if that makes sense. So we're always looking for like what feature kind of pushes towards the top right, and that becomes an emotional trigger as it's defined. And if I can have something that fits uniquely here, like I have it but nobody else does, and uniquely here, meaning it's an emotional trigger for my customer, those are the features that we double down on, create communications on, create product around. Yeah. So let's look at what that looks like. So we're going to go into the customer here. I'm going to go back into facilitate mode, and I'm going to look at the customer. And in the facilitation sessions, this is typically a stop point where with the group, we identify who our core customers are going to be, and I classify these as customer extremes. That's like probably more of a 20-minute explanation on how to do customer segmentation for this type of a data set, which we can do as a follow-up here. But just to look at the profiles, and there's a lot of context for every profile. So once we identify the profiles, it's going to go find these conversations in thread data, and Reddit and Twitter, like anywhere we can find long-form conversations about these topics with these types of characteristics. So it's going to have Marcus is my longevity optimizer. It's going to tell me who they are, why they were selected, the rationale against this, why this works, like what's not working currently in our brand for these pain points that this person's talking about. So we'll get that all in full context. Really, really helpful. And this is for the agents, okay? It's a heck of a lot of data to interpret from a human perspective, but when I can give this to the agents and as robust as possible, then synthesize it back down to a story, that's where all this is going. Because once we identify these, we're going to simplify this all the way back down to a single story. Okay? So while we have all these data points, story is going to be what matters, and that carries through to our go-to-market dashboard. That's going to be a second dashboard I'll show you. Connecting to this larger tension means I'm going to tie this feature to a conversation that's happening where, whether my brand exists or not, millions of people are talking about this. So I need to find my way into that conversation, and that again becomes a data-driven conversation. I want real proof that if I talk about this feature in this way, that I can be a relief point. I can be an advocate for the customers that are complaining about this tension in the market. So here's how we see this data-wise. Let's go back to facilitate mode because it's just a lot to look at. So the context, if I'm looking at Marcus or Lauren or Mike, which are the three customer extremes that we'll look for, like what are literally the things that they're being marketed to right now? What does it sound like? Where's the saturation? Like this is important to know. I don't want to be a copycat brand in the space. And if we take Marcus, for example, I want to map these features, every feature on where it sits. This is my dissatisfaction and importance meter. So all of these get mapped out. It'll highlight which ones are working and why. It'll actually like grab the quote itself. So a consolidated quote about the total conversation. And then it's going to tell me how it ranks. Like why does it rank in that top right? And it'll do that for every single feature, right? So right now, if I'm looking at all of them combined, if I just click on Marcus, I can just see Marcus's features. So I'll collapse this. So those are the ones that matter to Marcus. If I click on Lauren, these are the ones that matter to Lauren. So what I'm trying to do is solve all of these customers' problems with the same feature to where I don't have to change my company to change the customer. That's critical. Then I can activate a flywheel and the scale. I don't want to have to change my product to serve different customers. I want the same product to be repeatable to where I can solve the customer extremes. So that's highlighted here. These like the session credit conversation. If we remember, that showed up in my white space. The community style marketing, meaning I can rather than it being an individual modality, it's better with 8 people doing it. That's fun. So it's going to highlight these and give me the white space rationale. And again, you get more rationale if you're in explore mode. But this now gives me a strong argument as to why I'm going to push a feature a specific way. So now it's time to take all of this data and tie it back to a story. So we'll go to chapter 7. This is the last part where we actually touch base with the team and pick an option. So these will be 3 different ways in which we can tackle the market. Okay, so if I click on option A, it's going to build my new argument, my new story. It's going to give me like a statement that only I can say as a business. It's going to give me the new narrative, something that's going to be repeatable, something that I can train for sales enablement, I can talk to customers about, And it's going to literally give me this breakdown. Here's the decision trail. We started with 78 features. Now we're down to 3 features. That decision trail is so critical. Okay, so this is just kind of a review of what happens. It starts to build the guardrails. And this is the first stage of guardrail. Where this gets really exciting is in execution, and that's called the blueprint. So when we get into stage 8 here, this is the final deliverable of this exercise. And this is all delivered in an afternoon. So it's the longest segment is going to be the conversation that we have as people in a room, and then everything accelerates from there. So this is a one-day exercise to get to a full blueprint. I call this the customer journey map. There's a lot of versions of this, and again, I'm just adapting what already works and giving it to a team of agents and a team of executives on how to execute. So what we're going to do here is define like how to move somebody, like what feature to do when. So it'll give you all the data as far as like why this feature is here. But how do I move somebody from being totally unaware of my business to being delighted with my company and being an advocate and like highlighting why, full context. So very often people will come in here and go right to chapter 8. They'll go right to the blueprint here. So you can click on these and it'll give you all the rationale why. I can look at it for just Marcus. I can look at it for just Lauren, like my skincare skeptic. I can see it in full definition. Like I can understand every feature, full context and why. But this knowledge base also goes to that agentic layer, to where I can turn on an automated army for the consolidated features and allow my team to focus on the mission critical. Like that's where I want my people energy to go. Okay, so furthermore, I know this is a lot of data to look at, but where this gets really fun, so I can kind of go to the full summary. Everything kind of gets simplified. So you can see full context or you can see executive summary. It also gives me a data-driven version on how to not pursue copycat brand initiatives. Like what colors to use and why. And this gets carried over, you'll see in the marketing dashboard. Like what photography to use and why. Like how to do this. This has all been trained by like me primarily, just kind of being a brand builder, creative director for the last 20 years. The anti-patterns to stay away from, like with full context, again, you want the context. You want all the reasons why and what to avoid. And then it's going to give you drift prevention. This is important, like management-wise, how to avoid drift and like how to just never use the specific terms, how to never effectively like force a feature to the top of the pyramid that doesn't make sense. So this is where we get these KPIs as far as train the agent to say no. So if you deploy AI enablement throughout your organization, you want feedback, you want engagement, but you don't want a free-for-all. So this is dashboard 1, and this is, I'd say, executive level. Where this evolves to is it goes into what's called our go-to-market dashboard. So I'll show you 2. This is going to be for the company. Just a quick reminder, this business here. Oop, phone was ringing for a second, sorry. It's going to be for this business here. So I'm going to go to this dashboard, and I'm going to have a lot of tools now. So I'm going to have research that's been translated for my marketing team or for my sales team. I'll have sales assets as far as one-pagers, FAQs, sales scripts, battle cards. All of this stuff has been clicked through, so you can even see, like if I look at this page, it's been styled for me. So it is following the rules. All of this stuff gets built out effectively as a single click. That's important to know. So there's not a lot of work to do after you get this data. Like after we identify these 3 sections and the knowledge is established, now my agentic team can build out everything I need. It can build out my website, it builds out a 12-page landing page site. This is all full custom. So if you're B2C, you're going to get B2C assets. If you're B2B, B2B assets. And it's going to be respective to the market that you're in. So it's going to give you research, brand guidance, content. It'll literally write everything. Your email funnel, lead gen. A lot of this is going to be around the stuff that is commoditized for the business, where you want to create cost efficiency. So like your social posting, and this is all real photography from our brand language. Like it studies the assets and it builds slideshows that are critical, right? So this is all fully deployable. We integrate it into our Sprout social accounts. So it knows like how to post against Instagram, what we're doing on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Makes them look a little bit more B2B. So fully written posts, TikTok as well. It wasn't a huge mover for us. And then it'll also do this per customer. So if you look at the research, it's going to pull in the further voice of customer, but it's going to do this specifically to Marcus, who's our longevity optimizer, versus the skincare skeptic. Like all that knowledge base transfers and is now trainable. So it has strategy built into it. And what I mean about landing pages is it'll like fully build out the landing page itself. Okay, so this is all styled and it's simultaneous. So this is probably a few pages that I've built out here. Yeah, so like all functional, all deployable. We're pushing this into our website now, but this is all new copywriting that we know makes sense to our customer. Like price, for example. Price is really important, so it built me a pricing page. Right? It knows that rental's critical and that you can attribute that to our purchase. So it kind of re-breaks down the sales mechanisms to get somebody to click a button. And what's really fun, if this is our website, it knows that I need to get people to the website. So if I go back to the showcase and hit the lead magnets, these are things that people want to land on after they see our Instagram or something. So this is going to be a recovery stat quiz. This is something we're integrating where you can take a full quiz and get answers. This captures data, captures email, etc. Gives you the summary, routes you to the right page. Pretty fantastic. And it's all consistent. So whether it's talking about the Bohr effect, whether it's talking about the skincare, etc., everything's fully designed, fully written. It'll even build pages, us against competition, that our sales team can use. So if somebody asks us, like us against Carbogenetics or us against Hyperice, which we get all the time, I can click on this and here's us versus Hyperice with that data. And this really speeds up our sales process, right? Because we do have a sales team. Even though we're B2C, we've got a sales team that is executing against this stuff. So this becomes, oh, I just lost it. I closed it. I'm sorry. Let me open it right back up. But this becomes a really, really strong knowledge base. And what makes it exciting is this, let's open that back up against the air. Okay, so here's my dashboard. Where it gets exciting is this entire dashboard. As far as like our social content calendar, there you go. Like what we're doing week 1, week 2, week 3 against strategy, like what channel to do this on. All of this enables the automation, but it refreshes bi-weekly or every 2 weeks. So this knowledge base is keeping an eye out for what the market's doing, what new competition's doing. So having this be alive. Here's a really good example as far as blog posts for SEO. All of these posts are put together. So if I jump into this page here, it's written, it's in our brand style, like really fantastic. It alleviates a lot of the operational pain that a business like mine is up against because we're lean and mean. It'll give me case studies, PR and media strategies, story pitches, media targets, where to focus, thought leadership, literally like what podcasts to jump on and why. It's pretty great. This really, really enables our team. So it's got media plan, it's got what to measure, and it'll automate the measurement of this. And again, if you imagine me deploying a team of agents against this, that's when it's really powerful. So I'm not just needing to hire a lot more people, I can deploy agents. Chase and I have probably got over 250 agents built to deploy against these different sections. Okay, I can probably pull that up later, but I know this video is getting pretty long. But anyway, lot of value. And then the deployment of the agents is essentially what team do you want to switch on? Do you want to turn on the sales enablement team, call recordings, SEO, to immediately see that? So they're working against a knowledge base, and we've now proven that they do push back. So if you ask to go against strategy, it won't execute. It'll give you rationale and ask for a conversation, but it doesn't do any automatic execution. So we also just did this for one of Justin's business at Rally. So this is a insurance carrier business. And because of the context of the conversation, it knew that this is a B2B business. It knew that this is going to be different. So you have different, like the landing pages are totally different. The lead magnets will be totally different. Like a webinar registration page, already built out in the correct brand styles that we wanted it to. I'm not going to show that data just because it's private right now, but I'd be happy to dive through if the team's on the call or if they feel like sharing. But what I wanted to show is these premium deliverables. This is the strength. It literally knew that we needed a go-to-market strategy deck. So it'll build this for me. So this is a deck where you can just click through it. It's the new mode of presentation. It's alive. Soon you'll have just chat feedback to go back and forth. It's all styled in the right brand system. So that's an example of these premium deliverables that it does. It's got our investor deck. Again, this is data that is like really important. It's got the click through and the scroll through. So based on the preference of the team. So if this is the scroll through here, that's scrollable. You have your slide deck. All animated. Nice animations too. I'll give you another example of some nice animations that we run for businesses. These are all skills with collaborative agents. Everything's fed consistently. So if you change something in this deck, for example, you're going to change everything that relates to that data or that information into the business, like the pricing architecture, for example. Like these are notes that we talked about and built. This is a single build that happens. It's robust. All of these assets are a single build immediately after that knowledge base is created. So think if day one is the first knowledge base, executive level, day two, it's about an 8-hour build as far as the collaboration and workflows with the agentic layer. But then you have full execution, and then you can execute against all of this. So a few more examples that are kind of fun, and I was just going to show these as far as like strategy and the execution. The creative level of this is still, like, I still have a lot to push on taste for agents. I don't think they execute very well on taste yet. Not to my preference. So, but what it does do is deep research well. So it'll take that knowledge base, give me my facilitator preview, like what I need to know about the business. So it'll give me my full brief, but it's also going to go out to the internet and scour hundreds, 500 images and break this up into mood boards. And then I act as the creative director to filter it. It's all through audio. I'm not clicking buttons. It's pure audio. And it'll give me my different directions. It'll break down how I like to present creative directions, how I like to include the team. And because we can do this asynchronously now, like choosing visual directions, if you click on any of these images, you'll understand why I like this image. It takes my context, word for word. It'll create a title, description, so you can look at any of these pieces and why I thought it mattered. And it'll give me my 3 directions. I like to kind of identify 3, make them look uniquely different so the team has alignment on where we're going. But this context is critical because a human does do this filter. So that's a fun example as far as like how to take it from like data execution to go-to-market execution to creative execution. So I have my 3 different styles of how we can go build a business. And then even furthermore, when we're presenting the business, these are kind of fun. You get slideshow presentations. So this is an animated argument that came out of the conversations that we had and the data that we would have. So it kind of gives you facilitator notes down here, which is great. But when you click through this, this is more of an illustration of the model. What are we saying? So this becomes a presenter tool. So all I'm doing is clicking next on this tab. The notes are here. Those can be shown or hidden. But it visually creates the argument of what we're doing, which is fun. So we've made a handful of these to essentially say, okay, if this is where the market is, this is where Slingshot is going. Okay, and there's a lot of different examples of how you can just stick on something, educate the customer. This is a B2B business. So these animations get really fun because it is essentially how you might even whiteboard this up. We did some whiteboard exercises during the conversation. So this is all based off the data, all agentic building. It goes directly with this model of pressure testing a concept in multiple ways, in multiple directions, to where I really feel confident that I can execute against it now. So I'll probably stop there. This is like a 40-minute video already, so we'll maybe reconvene and kind of dive deeper on some of this stuff. But that's the platform. It's really been like a nice evolution. Allows my team to execute in a lean and mean way, and it should scale a lot of the go-to-market execution for businesses. And just as a reminder, it's about a half day in person, and then it's about 24 hours before the team gets both dashboards. All right, thanks.